Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I always thought I was the kind of guy who didn't scare easy. You know the type. Worked long shifts, made the late night drives home, knew every mile of empty road like the back of his hand. But that night, something broke inside me. Something deep. Something I don't think I'll ever fix. It started like any other night. Clocked out work a little past 2, heavy-eyed and stiff from standing all shift. I lit a cigarette, climbed into my old Chevy, and pulled on a County Road 9. The long stretch that cuts through farmland so forgotten, even the stars seemed reluctant to shine over it. No streetlights, no houses, just blackness pressing up against the windshield, thick enough it felt like I was swimming through it. I was about 10 minutes in, nodding along to the hum of the tires, when I noticed headlights in the rearview mirror. Distant at first, nothing unusual. You catch another car now and then, even out there. But the way those headlights moved, that was the first thing. They didn't just stay back at a respectful distance. They got closer, closer. Within a minute, they were right on my bumper, their high beams flooding my mirrors so bad I had to squint. I tapped the brakes lightly, hoping the guy would get the message. Instead, he surged even closer. I swear I could feel the heat of his engine licking my tailgate. I muttered a curse under my breath, heart tapping faster. Fine, I thought. If you want to play games, I'll just outrun you. I pressed the gas. The Chevy shuddered but picked up speed. 50, 60, 70 miles per hour down a Tulane country road slick with night dew. The car behind me matched me beat for beat, never falling back an inch. My palms were slick on the wheel. I glanced down at my phone sitting in the passenger seat. No signal. Of course. The road finally straightened out for a good stretch, and I saw my chance. I swung the wheel, guiding the Chevy onto the gravel shoulder. Dust and pebbles kicked up around me as I came to a stop, letting the car idle. I expected the tailgater to speed past me, maybe flipping me off for good measure. But he didn't. The other car pulled off too, maybe 30 feet back, idling there with its headlights drilling holes into the darkness. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then the driver's door creaked open. Out he came, tall, gaunt, wearing a dark hoodie that hung on his frame like wet laundry. He walked slowly to the front of his car, bathed in the harsh white beams of the headlights, and just stood there, facing me. His arms hung limp at his sides, his head tilted just slightly, like he was studying something he didn't quite understand. His eyes, at least what little I could make out, were wide, too wide, and he didn't blink. Not once. I stared back, frozen. Every instinct screamed at me to hit the gas, to leave rubber and fear on the road behind me. But something about him held me there, like a nightmare you can't wake yourself up from. Seconds ticked by, maybe minutes, maybe longer. He never moved. He never blinked. I saw something else then, something that made my gut twist. Even though the headlights were hitting him square, he didn't cast a shadow. Not on the gravel. Not against the mist curling along the road. Nothing. I don't remember making the decision to move. My body just did it. I slammed the gas pedal to the floor. The Chevy lurched, gravel spitting from the tires as I fishtailed back onto the road. I didn't dare look back at first. When I finally did, stealing a glance into the mirror. He was still standing there, frozen in place, watching. The rest of the drive is a blur. I don't remember the turns. Don't remember the dark fields blurring past. I remember the pounding in my chest, the taste of copper in my mouth where I'd bitten down hard on my tongue without noticing. I remember feeling like if I let my foot off the gas for even a second, he'd be there, right behind me again, closer this time, maybe reaching through the window. When I finally pulled into my driveway, the porch light spilling its weak glow across the cracked cement, I sat in the car for a long time, breathing, listening. The night was empty, no engine behind me. No footsteps crunching on gravel, just the creaking of old trees in the wind. I needed to prove to myself that it was real, that I wasn't just tired, hallucinating from another brutal shift. That's when I remember the dash cam. My hands shook as I pulled the footage up on my phone, the footage from the drive back. I watched, heart thudding, the road, the blackness. I saw myself tapping the brakes, pulling off the side, but in the footage, there were no headlights behind me. No car, no man, nothing. It was just me, pulling over into a dark, empty field, stepping on the gas and tearing away like a man running from his own shadow. I stared at the screen until it went black. Then I looked up, and for just a moment, in the reflection of the dark screen, I thought I saw him, standing behind me, not moving, not blinking. I didn't sleep that night. Hell, I'm not sure I've slept right since. Sometimes, late at night, when the roads are empty and the fields stretch out on either side like yawning mouths, I catch a flash of headlights in the mirror. Just a flash. And I wonder, if I pulled over again, would he still be there, standing in the headlights, waiting? And would I be stupid enough to stop? Or has he already found another way in? Maybe he's closer than I think. Maybe he never really left. Maybe he's just waiting for me to blink first. Story 2. I should have known better. You grow up hearing the warnings. Don't trust your GPS out in the mountains. Don't take shortcuts through places you don't know. But when you're tired, when your eyes are burning from the road and your brain is fogged up like the windshield in a winter storm, logic packs its bags and leaves you standing in the dark. It was around midnight when I left my parents' place, tucked high up in the Appalachians. The visit had gone longer than I expected, and by the time I hit the highway, a heavy storm had already started. Thunder rumbled low, like some ancient beast rolling over in its sleep, and the rain came down in sheets so thick I could barely make out the yellow lines on the cracked asphalt. The road twisted and turned like it was drunk, slithering along cliffs with no guardrails to catch you if you slipped. On either side, the forest loomed, black and wet, branches clawing at the sky. My wipers were useless. They just smeared the water around. I leaned forward, squinting, doing maybe 20 miles an hour just to stay alive. Then the GPS started acting weird. The screen blinked once, twice, and suddenly the familiar blue route changed. Shortcut available. It chirped in that fake friendly voice. Save 14 minutes. I should have laughed. I should have told it to go to hell. But I was exhausted. 14 minutes sounded like heaven. I slowed down, spotted the turn it suggested. A skinny dirt path barely wide enough for my car. No signs. No streetlights. Just a scar carved into the trees. My headlights lit it up, and for a second, it looked almost inviting, like the road home. I turned, Gravel crunched under my tires. The trees swallow me whole. At first, it was just trees, a solid wall of them, packed tight, their trunks thick and slick with rain. The branches above knitted together so tightly that even the lightning flashes barely made a dent in the dark. The storm sounded different here too, muted somehow, like the woods were smothering the noise. A few minutes in, I started noticing the carvings. They were subtle at first. A line gouged into a trunk here, a circle there. But the deeper I went, the worse they got. Symbols. Strange, spidery shapes hacked deep into the bark, weeping sap like open wounds. Some looked like eyes, others like twisted stick figures. A few were just wrong in ways I couldn't explain. Shapes that made my stomach turn without knowing why. Then I saw the chairs. The first one sat maybe 10 feet off the road, a battered rocking chair, tilted slightly to one side. Empty. Then another, a few yards later. A plain kitchen chair, its paint peeling, facing the road. And another. And another. They weren't random, either. They were placed carefully, always facing the path I was driving. Always waiting. I told myself it was some weird art project. Some backwoods folk thing. I told myself a lot of things, trying to keep the rising panic out of my throat. And then I passed the woman. She sat in a high-backed wooden chair, just a few feet from the edge of the road. Her dress was shredded and soaked, clinging to her bones. Her head hung low, hair black and dripping, hiding her face. One bare foot poked out from under the dress, the skin pale and waxy. I didn't stop. I didn't even slow down. My heart jackhammered against my ribs as I pressed harder on the gas, the tires spitting gravel behind me. The road narrowed even more, until branches scraped the sides of the car with nails on a chalkboard screeches. Every curve felt sharper. Every shadow looked like something reaching for me. The GPS was useless now. The screen was frozen on a blank map, a blinking red arrow spinning in place. I drove blind, praying the path would spit me back out onto the highway before my luck, or my sanity, ran out. Finally, after what felt like hours, I saw it. A strip of real asphalt cutting through the trees like a lifeline. I didn't care where it led. I slammed onto it, tires screeching, and didn't look back. Not until I checked my rearview mirror. At first, it just looked dark. Nothing unusual. Then the headlights caught something. Something lined across the dirt road like a parade. Chairs. Rows and rows of them, stretching back into the woods. And every single one was occupied. They sat there, motionless. Figures hunched and twisted, faces turned toward my car. Some wore ragged clothes. Some were little more than shadows. But they all stared. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. One of them, near the front, slowly raised a hand and waved. I mashed the gas pedal to the floor and didn't lift it until I saw real street lights, real signs, real civilization again. When I finally pulled into a gas station an hour later, I must have looked like a ghost myself. White-knuckled, wide-eyed, shaking. I sat there in the parking lot, engine running, listening to the rain drum on the roof, trying to convince myself it hadn't happened. But it had. The mud sprayed up on my car was still there, thick and dark, and carved into the layer of dirt on the hood, just above the front grille, was a single word. Stay. I never went back. And I never, ever take shortcuts anymore. Because sometimes the long way home is the only way you come home at all. Story 3. I'm not the type to pick up hitchhikers. Never have been. Never planned to be. But that night was different. The desert has a way of messing with your head after a few hours behind the wheel. The long stretch between Blackwater and Dry Creek was endless, black as ink, the only light coming from my high beams cutting a narrow, useless path through the dust and tumbleweeds. I had the window cracked open a little, letting in the cold night air to keep myself awake. I was about 2 hours into the drive when I saw him, a figure standing on the shoulder, thumb out, head bowed low like he didn't expect anyone to actually stop. I should have kept going. God knows I should have. But there was something about him. Maybe it was the way he looked so damn small under the weight of that old backpack, or the way the sleeves of his jacket barely covered his wrists. He couldn't have been older than 17, maybe 18 at most, and he was dressed like he didn't know the desert dropped below freezing once the sun disappeared. I told myself I was doing a good deed, that's all. I pulled over, leaned across the seat, and popped the door open. Without a word, he climbed in. He closed the door soft as a whisper, settled into the passenger seat, and stared straight ahead. He didn't look at me, didn't even seem to notice me. We drove for a few minutes in silence, the tires humming against the cracked asphalt. I glanced over at him. His face was pale in the dim glow of the dashboard lights, and he had dark circles under his eyes, so deep it looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. His hand sat limp in his lap. No fidgeting, no shifting around to get comfortable. Just stillness. Something about it unsettled me. "Where are you headed?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light, casual. He didn't turn his head, just stared out into the darkness. "Same place you are," he said. I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I laughed it off, a nervous little chuckle that sounded way too loud in the small space of the car. "Yeah? And where's that?" I asked, even though part of me didn't want to know the answer. He didn't say anything. The road stretched on and on, endless and empty. The desert around us was a void, swallowing up everything the headlights didn't touch. I checked the clock on the dashboard. 2:17 a.m. Only another hour or so to Dry Creek. I focused on driving, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The air inside the car felt heavy, like the pressure before a thunderstorm. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. I kept sneaking glances at him, but he didn't move, didn't blink, barely even seemed to breathe. I started humming under my breath, some stupid tune from the radio earlier, just to fill the silence. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "I'm Jake, by the way," I said. "What's your name?" He turned to look at me, then, slow and deliberate, like every bone in his neck protested the motion. His eyes met mine, and I swear to God they were wrong somehow. Too dark, too deep, like looking down into a well that had no bottom. He smiled, a slow, creeping smile that didn't touch his eyes. "My name's Jake, too," he whispered. That's when my stomach dropped into my shoes. I slammed on the brakes. Hard. The car screeched to a stop, tires skidding across the asphalt. I whipped my head around, heart hammering against my ribs. The passenger seat was empty. No kid, no backpack, just the faint smell of something old and rotten, like wet earth after a grave's been dug. I sat there, breathing hard, gripping the wheel like it was the only thing anchoring me to reality. I leaned over and opened the passenger door, half expecting him to still be sitting there, grinning at me in the dark. Nothing, just the endless, empty desert stretching out in every direction. I climbed out of the car, boots crunching on the gravel shoulder. I walked around, shining my phone's flashlight across the ground. No footprints, no marks in sand, no sign anyone had ever been there. I turned back toward the car, and that's when I saw it. Scratched into the dust coating the dashboard, right above the glove box, were 5 shaky letters. J-A-K-E. I don't remember getting back into the car. I barely remember driving the rest of the way to Dry Creek. Every mile felt like 100. Every shadow in the rearview mirror made my heart jump into my throat. When I finally rolled into town, the sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky in sickly shades of pink and orange. I parked outside an all-night diner and just sat there, staring at the dashboard. The scratches were still there, deep, permanent, like fingernails dragging through wood. I sold the car a week later, told the guy it ran fine, just had a few scratches inside. Didn't mention the hitchhiker. Didn't mention the way the air still felt heavy sometimes, like someone was sitting in the passenger seat, waiting. I drive a different car now, a newer model. No dust on the dashboard. But sometimes, late at night, when the road stretches out empty in front of me and the desert wind howls across the blacktop, I catch a glimpse of something in the corner of my eye. A shape, a figure, standing on the side of the road, thumb out. And every time, without fail, my blood turns to ice. Because even before I get close enough to see his face, I already know what he's going to say. Same place you are. Same place you are. Same place you are. And I know that if I ever stop again, this time, he won't leave so easily. This time, he might be coming home with me.